Perfect. So my name's Kieren Elliott, and I'm going to take you through some information on flying with children. So just to give you a little bit of background, I'm a mum of two small boys, so Cohen, who is 4, and Levi, who is just about to turn 1. And so I've been in the travel industry for 17 years now, and I'm going to give you some tips and tricks about traveling with small kids. So kiddo pictured there, that's Cohen, and that was taken on his second flight to Australia when he was about 18 months old. So Cohen's about to take his 4th trip to Australia. The flight from Vancouver to Brisbane is 14 hours and 37 minutes. So I do consider myself a semi-expert at traveling, especially flying with small kids. So one of the flights that I've done with Cohen was when he was 2.5, and I did that on my own. So I'm hoping some of the things that I've learned in the industry and also as a parent will give you all some good takeaways if you want to travel with your own kids or family. So just some things that we're going to talk about during this presentation. I'm going to talk briefly about airfare rules and some of the rules surrounding booking travel, especially when traveling with small kids. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks when it comes to seat selection and what you can do to try and maximize or get the best seats. And then just some information about what you can bring on board. But my very biggest piece of advice, especially if you're booking long haul or international travel, is you would probably want to use a travel agent because they are going to help you navigate some of this information that I'll take you through now. So now that we've got all of that out of the way, let's talk about some of the nitty-gritty of traveling with kids, so specifically relating to airfare. So firstly, kids under the age of 2 are considered to be an infant, and therefore you'll only be required to pay a small amount of taxes for those kids. So for context, we're going to Australia next month. My fare was $1,300. Levi, who's 1, his fare was $175. The downside of that, however, is he does not get a seat. So you, unless you get lucky with your seat selection, you'll be holding that infant for the entire 14-hour flight. That also means if you're wanting to travel with a car seat, you would need to book a full paying seat for that child. So kids between the ages of 2 and 11 are usually charged about 75% of the adult fare. So Cohen's flight was about $1,100. Other things that you may not be aware of is that most airlines will only allow 1 infant per adult. So if you've got twins or triplets, or you're a single parent traveling with twins, they can actually deny boarding. So if you don't have 1 adult to match that 1 infant, they may deny boarding, and you may have to bring a companion along. So not something that everybody is aware of. So what else we're going to talk about is selecting our seats. So when it comes to seating, most long-haul planes or long-haul flights have bassinets. So if you look at this as a seat map for our flight to Australia, this here is the exit row, and if you can imagine here, there's going to be a wall right there, and that's actually called bulkhead seating. So for those that are used to traveling quite a bit, this is where you're going to get all of that extra leg room. So really important rules when you're coming to exit row. So anything that's above the wing, the children cannot actually sit. So you can't sit on the side if you're in an exit row, because those are the people that are going to help should there be some sort of disaster on the plane. But these seats in the middle here are usually bassinet seating, and what they actually have is little holes in the wall, and then the airline hostess will bring a child's bassinet and actually plug it into the wall for you. Bassinets are usually reserved for the youngest child on the plane. So in our case, for example, Levi probably won't get a bassinet because he's going to be 1 when we're traveling. So if there's a smaller baby, it will go to them. There's also some weight and height restrictions when it comes to bassinets. Now you can call and request these bassinet seats. The things with these seats is because it's extra leg room, it's sort of counted as priority seating. So you can see that the cost there to sit there is $152. Any other seat selection down here in economy is actually free for a traveling adult, but they charge for this extra leg room. Now, if you're traveling with an infant, you can actually get that seat for free, but it's only for 1 adult. So if you're traveling with your partner, you'd have to pay $152 for one of you, and then the baby and the other adult would sit there for free. One of the little trick that I do like to do when I'm traveling with my family, or when we were traveling with just an infant, is we would book aisle seats for ourselves. So we would grab this aisle and we would grab this aisle and we would leave this middle seat free. Essentially, when people are doing seat selection, those middle seats are going to be the last to go. So we found that if we hedged our bets and booked those 2 aisle seats, we'd end up with a row to ourselves. So 9 out of 10 times that's worked. We've had one time where it didn't work and that person actually offered to move completely. And I think they were actually bumped into premium economy, which was nice for them. So airlines don't advertise these things. There's other things, for example, if you're traveling with WestJet on a shorter flight to Hawaii, it's actually required that your children have to sit with you. So WestJet will give you free seat selection, which is not common with such a short haul ticket. So Devon, I know you've got kids. Call WestJet, tell them that you want to be seated with your kids and they have to seat you and your wife with at least one of your kids. So, and no seat selection fees there. So WestJet's quite good at that. Good tip though is always to just look up family travel and see what each airline is offering specifically. So the other question that I get quite a bit is, what can I bring on board? And it's really important to check with the airline directly as to what you can and cannot bring. So in terms of babies, most airlines will allow some sort of baby carrier, so an ergo or a sling. They can't be worn on takeoff, they can't be worn on landing, but they're great for having in the middle of flights, especially if you've got a baby that's not settling. When it comes to bigger things, however, things like FlyTot, which I'm not sure if you've heard of it before, but it's a giant inflatable pillow which you can put in front of the seat and it makes a great little bed for the kids. Unfortunately, that's not allowed by Transport Canada. So these great tools are marketed to parents, but they can't actually use them for airlines like Air Canada. So before purchasing anything, I always advise that parents make sure that that airline that they're traveling on is going to allow those products. Most of the time, you can also bring things like formula, pumped breast milk, and baby pouches. So they don't count as the liquid rule, which is, I believe, 100 mils of liquids. But you always want to make sure that you're checking with your airline or your travel agent. And so in terms of luggage, most long haul tickets will allow each infant, even though they're traveling on that $130 ticket or $150 ticket, they can still have 23 kilos of checked luggage and 1 piece of carry-on. So no child of that size requires 23 kilos, so that's an extra bag for me, which is great. Toddlers and small kids will also have the ability to have the 23 kilos of checked luggage. And they also love having their own small backpacks. So we usually have a little backpack for Cohen filled with snacks, activities, iPads, all of that sort of stuff. Now with infants, you can also check special things like strollers and car seats. So there's 2 common terms that you may hear when it comes to luggage, and one is gate checked and there's checked luggage. So checked luggage is when you arrive at the airport, you're checking in for your flight. They will take your suitcase, put it on a conveyor belt and take it away. So that's your checked luggage. Gate checking is when you've actually gone past security and you go to board the plane. So you've got the gate that's right there and the 1 or 2 hosties that are there servicing that. They can actually take things like strollers from you at that point. So if you're going to be taking a stroller or traveling with any sort of special equipment, I usually gate check it because then I have use of the stroller all throughout the airport as well, which is really handy. Car seats can also be gate checked, and usually what they'll do is they'll wrap them in plastic. And then the other nice thing about gate checking things like strollers is that most of the time when the plane lands and you're about to get off the plane or you get off the plane, that stroller is actually waiting there at the top of the gate for you. So it's ready to go when you get into destination. So I'm just going to do a small quiz with you to see if everyone's been paying attention. So if we can all have our smartphones handy. And is the QR code come up on the screen there for Kahoot? Perfect. So you just want to scan this little QR code and then it'll have a small link pop up. And then you can type in your name and we're going to have a little knowledge check to see. Has it got questions going for you or need to hit the start button? There we go. The traveling with children quiz. What is the age of an infant? Dun, 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 dun. Oh, we've got some fastest fingers first there. Jamie has pulled out ahead here. What should you do on every travel booking? Yeah, you would want to get that question right. Okay, so that's some very close scores. So let's see if Devon can pull ahead here with our last question. Where is the bassinet seating usually located? Devon's looking pretty confident. Oh, everyone got it. Lee, third place. Devon, second place. And Jamie, fastest finger first, comes in first. Great work. So I'll stop sharing because I like to come out of share for questions, but does anyone have any questions on flying with children or traveling with families in general? No, we're good. Awesome. Probably well under the 8 minutes because I'm very fast when I speak.
Oh, you know what? I really enjoyed that. I thought it was very informative. I'm going to be flying with my kids only to Calgary, but from Kelowna, so not a huge flight, but I thought it was very informative and a lot of good points in there. I thought your actual presentation you put together was at a very nice aesthetic layout and very kind of easy to follow, really. Well done.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd echo. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lee. Okay. I'd echo all that. I like the layout as well. You know, I'm lazy PowerPoint and just use my textbook publisher slides, so it's nice seeing work. Sorry, my internet connection's unstable here. It's telling me, but I like seeing the work that you'd put into it, and I like the use of Kahoot at the end to, you know, just as a teaching point. It reinforces the lesson and increases engagement. Students love that.
Canva makes it look like you know how to design things. So I do all my PowerPoints in there now because PowerPoint is just unnecessarily complicated, and then Canva's got a ton of templates and you just drag your photos on top. But I don't know how many law people would want pretty presentations.
It's a good tip.
Oh, you're on mute, my friend. It's the quote of 2020.
I liked just how easy you talk about it. You know, it's like you're speaking from total experience, which I'm sure you are, having traveled to Australia that many times. Yeah, so it just flowed really nice. And yeah, the quiz is super fun. That's definitely interesting. And you just made a really easy topic, something I would never have thought to do something so simple, and just made it so informative, and like you could just see how you could put anything in that kind of a style. So I appreciated that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone.